Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. We broadcast 2 hours from high top the Missouri Ozark Mountains, right here from the farm. And if you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Listen line, 605-477-3249. 605-477-3249. There's a link to your instructors on the website, usaprepares.com, usaprepares.com. I'm Vincent Finelli. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. Welcome, Guineith.
Hello, Vincent. How are you this morning?
I'm very, very well, and thank you for being with us and staying up so late in your time.
Oh, that's great. I love being on your show.
We love having you. I have a question for you. You know, I was up this morning, and it was dark, and I was thinking about Guineith and her off-grid system and lighting. What do you do for lighting at night, in the evenings, in the early morning hours when you want to be able to see what you're doing in your home?
Okay,
what kind of
we
lighting do you have?
These solar shed lights, okay? The sort that you get at your big box store. They have a tiny little solar panel, okay, which is on the outside of the house. And then there's a wire that you can either feed through a gap in the joinery or, drill a small hole in the roofing iron and then later on, plug up around the hole once you've passed the wire through. And then you have the light on the inside. And these solar shed lights, they provide enough light for us to move around the house after the lights go out at night. And not trip over anything. But something, it's actually really, really good for you to not have high light levels in the middle of the night, because it can, if you have a situation where you've got, incandescent bulb or compact fluorescent bulb or an LED bulb of a regular type on in the middle of the night, it can actually mess with your melatonin levels. And it can stop you from sleeping well. Mm-hmm. And if you've got these lights, the light is about as intense as what it would be on a full moon. So it's like having the same sort of light as the full moon on the inside of the house. So you can see the beds and the chairs and, tables and all of that would be on the inside of the house. But it doesn't have that bright glare.
Now, because
as the night goes on, the light grows progressively more dim, and then probably an hour or two before dawn, which is usually when you're asleep anyway, it more or less burns out. But that's if anyone's contemplating an off-grid system, these lights. They at some shops, at the local country hardware shop, they charge $25 each for them. If we travel about 100 kilometres into the nearest major town, they sell for $12.50 at the really, really, really big box hardware type store. And so that's a good way that you can effectively light your house if you are living off the grid in the middle of the night after the lights go out.
Okay, so what about those dark, gloomy days when there's not much light to charge the system, because you're depending on today's daylight for charging the battery in this shed light for tonight, right?
Yeah. You still get some light. And on those nights, you just go to bed early, which is probably your inclination is to do anyway.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting.
And the other thing is that we do have fireplaces, and they provide some light as well. And up until 100 years ago, that's how everybody lit their houses at night.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. And I was thinking,
extremely wealthy.
I was thinking about this, and that's the way when people lived in a rural setting like you and I do. That's exactly the way it was, and there was not the convenience of just flipping a switch and having instant light. And the reason that this is important is, the sun. We are just like one sun burp away from not having that switch work. That's pretty much it. If there's a massive solar ejection and it takes down the power grid, those light switches won't be of very much use. Guineith, I mentioned this on the air. I don't know if I've told you, but I decided to run for the position of director of the local electric cooperative.
You did mention that.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this because I'm looking forward to hearing the presentations of the people who will be running against me and what they have to say and how, what are the reasons that people should vote for them. That's what I'd like to know. I really would like to know that. And I'm going to get a chance to hear that.
Aside from the fact that their families have lived there for 100 years.
Yeah.
I'm from here, and I'm from here, and I'm from here. My father was from here.
Yeah, and I have never gone to a doctor ever in my entire life and said, "Wait a minute, before we start with the exam, are you from here?"
It doesn't matter. What matters is that they know what they're talking about.
You're darn right. So we have people in rural America have been led to believe that if you're not from here, you're a threat. And and actually, it's true in a very small setting. The Native American Indians, if they think back, if you're not from here, you're a threat. Well, they were right. They were absolutely right. And when I think about the way it works, when people get up on stage and say, vote for me, I'm from here, I would really like to say, so does that mean that your family was involved in the theft of the land from the natives? Did you guys? Is that who you guys are? Did you steal the land from the natives, and that's what you're talking about? Because I didn't do that, and no one in my family did it. However, we paid for it from people who ultimately stole it from the American natives, the Indians.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an outrage. It really is, and it bothers me.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about kind of a pack mentality, a herd mentality, a pack dynamics.
Yep.
Dogs and people. Let me share with you a story. Let me share with you a story, if I may. Yesterday, I read this. I do not have it on the screen at this moment, but there was there were two cops in St. Louis, Missouri, and they were in pursuit of a suspect, not a criminal, just a suspect. And another cop, off duty, was in his house. The off-duty cop was black, and he heard some commotion, some noise. I'm paraphrasing. And he grabbed his service weapon, and he brought it with him, and he went outside, and the two cops that were in pursuit of the suspect saw him and demanded that he get on the ground. Then they realized that he was one of their fellow cops, and they ordered him to stand up and walk toward them. So he did that. Mm-hmm. He was walking toward them. Another cop, which would be the fourth cop, joins them. sees the black off-duty cop and shoots him right then and there.
Right.
Boom.
Just assumes that because he's black, that he must be the enemy.
Well, you got to wonder. You got to wonder. That sure appears that it could be the case. And the reason I mention this is we're going to talk about pack dynamics and in dogs and in people. And I mentioned this little story yesterday. And I was thinking about the Nazis, and I was thinking about people in groups. And I mentioned there was a poster back in the 80s, and it had a group of people and said, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large numbers. And
I've seen that in gift shops.
I think there's some validity to it.
I think I'll buy it and hang it up next to the one that says Rules of the Scottish Tavern, no throwing porridge at the serving wenches.
we there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Yeah.
So here we have. I was thinking about the Nazis, and it's been asked of those who were involved in the brutality. So why'd you do it? Why did you raise your gun and just kill all those people and shove them in a ditch? Why'd you do that? Why were you involved in these brutalities? And their answer is pretty much always the same. Well, I guess they looked around and saw.
Orders.
Yeah, that's what they said. But they also would look around and they'd see the other guys following orders. So the first guy does it, the second guy does it, so they all do it.
Yep. That's right.
And that I think is this mentality that you were talking about in pack dynamics, right? Isn't that it?
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk more about that. And so today's 2-hour broadcast, pack mentality in dogs and also people, and spiritual energy. Guineith Isaacs. We'll be right back. So Guineith, I was in Springfield, Missouri, and I was on the road was 4 lanes plus 2 turn lanes coming toward each other. So there's 2 through traffic lanes going each way. So that's 4 lanes plus 2 turn lanes. That's going each way. So that'd be there's 4 plus 4 more. That's 8. And then there's 4 merging lanes coming into this area, all in the same place. A lot of lanes and 4 traffic lights. And so it's in the city of Springfield. So I'm going about, there's all kinds of traffic there, everywhere you look, and where I was yesterday. And this sports car came from behind me, flew past me, and then pulled in front of me, and then made a right-hand turn. Now, so he's behind me, and all he has to do is turn right and go into this parking lot. He wants to go into a car dealership.
Yeah.
But instead he has to fly around me. Now, he's saving 200 feet. Literally, that's all he's saving by going in front of me is 200 feet. He races in, slams on his brakes, turns in front of me, so I hit the horn. What does he do? He gives me the finger. And here's the point. And I've said this before, does everybody have to cut me off? Everybody? And it's not like my driving is so slow that I'm causing traffic jam. It's not like that at all. I'm moving with the rest of the traffic, whether I'm on the interstate or a back road, whatever it is. I'm not speeding, and I'm not just poking along. I'm doing the normal speed that is safe.
Blending
that
with
most
the traffic.
people. Yeah. And what I'm noticing is the amount of carelessness, the amount of rudeness, the amount of me first. I have never seen anything like it. I've seen people look, they see me coming, and they go, you know what? There's almost enough time to cut that guy off. Let's cut him off, because he can stop in time. He'll slam on the brakes. And that's what's happening. Are you seeing that in your country?
I absolutely am. The other day I was in a bus, and I was heading from our little country town, which is, about 20 kilometres from where we live, going on the bus to the major city because I had things in the major city that I needed. And there was a heavy fog, okay? And we had in front of us a prime mover, and there was, sitting just behind us, no, hang on, there was the bus, and then there was this car that was sitting in front of the bus, between the bus and the prime mover, okay? That's like a tractor with maybe one or two trailers. I think it had two trailers, okay? And we could see this car was just wanting to go out and overtake the prime mover, okay? And you could see that because we drive on the left in this country, he was gradually, edging out towards the right and then changing his mind and then going back in, and then edging out and then going back in. There was a fog where you could not see probably 20 metres of the road in front of you. So you could absolutely not see the front of the prime mover, okay? And do you know something? He was just edging out and then going back in, edging out and then going back in, and then eventually the prime mover moved out to the right-hand side of the road, moved through the fog, still not being able to see where he was going. And we saw on the bus this prime mover move out into the fog, go up into God only knows what. He couldn't see, obviously. Okay, and then he moved back in. He overtook a farmer in a 4-ton truck carrying livestock. Do you think that car that was between the bus and the prime mover knew that he would also have to overtake a 4-ton truck carrying livestock?
Yep.
And from memory, there was a bull in this 4-ton truck. So it was a 4-ton truck with a cage, on the tray, and there was a bull on the tray. How's that? And if there had been something coming in the opposite direction through the fog, there's no way that car would have been able to see it, and he would have been tangled up in a crash with a bus, a 18-wheeler, and a 4-ton farmer's truck with a bull on the back.
It tears me up. It tears me up when I see people with these vehicles do careless things. When Guineith Isaacs is with us in class, if you'd like to find out more about Guineith, she's in Australia. You can go to usaprepares.com, usaprepares.com. Page number 1, you'll find a link to her, and also on the instructors tab at USA Prepares. Guineith, we're talking about pack dynamics, and there's a post on dailymail.co.uk. Title, Dash Cam captures cop kneeing and punching driver in brutal attack after the Minnesota motorist tailgated an off-duty officer. And I looked at the video, and according to this post, it says in the video, Worthington police officer, it mentions his name, also a member of the Buffalo Ridge Drug Task Force, can be seen pulling over an SUV. When the car stops, he appears, get out, and he uses all these expletives. I mean, as extreme as you could possibly imagine. And then he opens the driver's door of the SUV that he pulled over, and then you can see him punching and kneeing this driver. Before that, you can see in the video that the cop has his gun drawn as he approaches the car. Now, he's also, looks like he's wearing his body armor under his police T-shirt, and there's a uniformed in blue cop with him. Now, it looks like the uniformed cop is an older cop, and the cop is kind of just standing there on the sidewalk side of the SUV while the motorist is being beaten. Literally beaten, yanked out of his car, thrown to the ground, and both cops handcuff him. Okay? An extreme case of police brutality, it appears, based on what I've seen. So the article goes on to say that this guy is the motorist is being, according to the criminal complaint, which may be bogus or it may be bona fide, it says he was charged with possessing marijuana, assault with a dangerous weapon, whatever that means, fleeing police in a vehicle, and driving after his license was revoked. So with those charges, it would appear that, this guy might be a problem. The motorist might be a problem. However, I'd like to share this with our class. I was driving with a suspended license. Now, you might think that Vinny might be a bad guy, driving with a suspended license. But let me tell you why I was driving or operating my vehicle with a suspended license. I had, there was a theft that involved my wallet, my credit cards, cash, and I had this little bag that I used to carry with me. And it had all those things contained within this little bag. And you might call it a pocketbook. It was actually a very small case. Think of it like a case that you might have for an iPad with two little handle straps, and it was made out of nylon with a zipper. So it had room for a check ledger, credit cards, wallet, and things you might want to have with you, some cash. And that's what I had. And it was stolen from my car. And the minute I realized it was stolen, I went to the DMV, and I filed a police report. I was useless. And I applied for a replacement license because I had the belief that mine wasn't coming back because it was stolen. Well, at DMV, they told me they couldn't give me a replacement license because my driving privilege was revoked. And I said, what? What are you talking about? I have the highest driving record in the Commonwealth of Virginia and in the state of Missouri. The highest you can get, the best you can get. You can't get a better one. And in pursuit of what's this all about, I found out that there was an unpaid fine of $20. Okay?
Dear me.
And, well, and it was bogus. Somebody didn't like me. Well, no, it was worse than that. Somebody didn't like me in the state of Missouri, and they placed a bogus fine on my driving privileges and revoked my license as a result of this. Now, this is something that happens to people that the state doesn't like.
That's absolutely true.
It is true. They literally, and they blamed it on a typographical error, okay? They said, most so sorry. It was a clerk. I always blame the clerks, right? I don't buy it. I believe, and I've heard this from someone at the Missouri House of Representatives, if they don't like you, if the governor doesn't like you, if other people in the state government don't like you, they can make you have a fine and suspend your driving privileges. And the hope is, from their team, the hope is that you're traveling, you get pulled over, then you get arrested for driving with a suspended or revoked license, just like the guy I just talked about.
Yep. And then you might even get killed if they're lucky.
Well, I saw this cop with the body armor on, the police uniform, a police T-shirt on, and he approached this SUV with his gun drawn.
Yep. He was preparing for something.
Absolutely. Now, did this guy have marijuana? I don't know. Do I believe it? No, I don't really believe it. I believe that this guy that pulled him over was in the drug task force. He probably carries marijuana with him, and he drops it in cars. I mean, I don't know if that's a fact. I really don't. But I can see where that could very easily happen. Planted evidence. What I'm saying is, if you see videos like this, you'll see the behavior of these people in uniform, and you see how outrageous they are. And class, if you've got a pacemaker, or you've got a heart condition, or you've got a lung condition, a respiratory condition, these guys may kill you. They may kill you. It's getting so dangerous on the streets that I don't want to be there. Between the cops and the reckless behavior of those around me, including the cops, I don't want to be there.
Yeah. And it all does go down to pack mentality. They are operating like a pack of wild dogs. That's exactly how they're behaving. Now, I want to, qualify that statement with how I can actually say that. When I was a child, I was born my dad was a breeder of curly-coated retrievers, and he was a registered breeder. He bred show dogs, okay? And he had a bitch who is a curly retriever bitch, and she had a litter of puppies around about the time that I was born. So this curly retriever bitch actually thought that I was one of her pups, and she more or less adopted me even after all of her pups had gone to their new homes. Okay? Now, what happened was I grew up with dogs, knowing how dogs thought, how dogs act, etc., etc., okay? And as I speak, I'm about to put a pup out the door to do its business because we've got a new puppy here, okay? And this was what prompted my email, because we also have her mother here, and her mother is free range about the property. She's one of our dogs, and she had this puppy. And seeing how we, as a family, have dogs, and sometimes there's a pup born, sometimes there's more than one pup born on this place, and how the pups grow up in our family, how the children grow up in our family, and how we operate as a family, dogs and humans, as a pack. And we all know that we're in the pack, we're bonded to each other, we're loyal, we're all good people. My dogs don't go around killing livestock or anything like that. The ones who can be completely trusted off the chain, they get to stay off the chain, okay? The ones that I think, well, you know, I'd keep them off the chain during the day maybe, sometimes if we're all here and if I can keep an eye on them. But, you know, we don't want them, although they wouldn't attack farmers' livestock, we don't want them going over the road into the neighbour farmer's paddock thinking that they could round up his sheep. You know what I mean? So, you know, they're the sheepdogs, they're let off under supervision. But even so, they know that they're in the pack and they don't tend to stray. Now, with the police, they have their own pack and they are not as well behaved in their pack as what we are with our pack. Because, for instance, I don't take my dogs out and go, I don't know, randomly harassing people with my dogs, training my dogs to bark at a hidden command, and then accusing people of having something and claiming that my dog is a trained sniffer dog that's trained to sniff for certain things. Is this making sense to you, Vincent? Do you know of this sort of scenario that has happened? Because I have certainly heard about it.
Well, I can tell you that we had an expo in the city of Lebanon, and the cops have brought their dogs to walk through the aisles among our guests, among our students, among our instructors, with me. I mean, not walking with me. The cops just showed up. And they bring their canine dogs with them, their drug-sniffing dogs. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen them walk in formation. I've seen them push their weight around. And I find it an outrage. I don't know who these people think they are, that they can just show up at a private event. They call it a public event. Well, you have to pay a fee to get in, and you have to be admitted in. And these guys think that they can do whatever they want, and they can sniff out whatever they want. And imagine how that would make the news if they ever found something. Guineith Isaacs is with us. So Guineith, at our Get Prepared Expo, the cops showed up and the canine team showed up, and they decided that they were going to show us how everything works. And so they walked down the aisles, and they literally frightened our guests. And we had 3 guests. They were in the medical profession, and they came from Georgia, and they drove from Georgia to be with us. And then when the cops showed up, they were so afraid they left, and they absolutely damaged our expo. and I'm not willing to put up with the city of Lebanon, Missouri, and their tactics when we are the tenants of the facility. That's the
absolutely
people,
disgusting.
It is. So we haven't had an expo.
I'm using that word a lot, but I think it's justified.
Mm-hmm. We've decided that we're going to put on hold any more expos until, we would have to have a private venue, not a public venue. And here's the problem. What has happened is all of the venues that I know of are either state properties, county properties, city properties, or city-county properties.
Yep.
Municipal. And they feel that after they rent you the use of the facility, that they're still in charge. That's what they feel.
Yep.
And I'm not willing to let them run roughshod over us and scare and frighten our guests. And when they come in with the dogs, young children will see these dogs and think, well, there's a puppy just like mine, and boy, isn't that a nice dog. Well, as you said, these dogs are trained to bark on secret commands, hand signals, and words. They are also trained to attack on hand signals and words and motions.
And even subsonic and supersonic sounds that you and I can't hear. So there needn't even be any visible hand signal. That cop could have a device in his hand that sends out a subsonic or supersonic sound that the dog can hear, all that you or in his hand in his pocket or anything like that. Okay, or anywhere, just maybe strapped to his leg, where he just has to sort of put some pressure on the inside, on the outside of his leg or something, and just press a button somehow on his person. Send out a sound frequency, and this is standard dog training behaviour. This is normal. People have been using these. This is even the very definition of dog whistle. You know what I mean? Like a frequency of sound that we can't hear, but that dogs can.
Yeah, and I've got to tell you, I have never trained a dog to do that. I've never trained. Yeah, they do. They do, and they have guns and tasers and batons and shotguns and all kinds of devices.
I would never dream of training a dog as a weapon, that I could release on command to go and kill someone, I would know how to do it because, as I mentioned, I've studied dog behavior my entire life, And also, I've actually got a book on my bookshelf, and it's called The Behavior of Wolves, Dogs, and Other Canids. And it's written by, I kid you not, written by a man by the name of Michael Fox. And probably if you went on Amazon, you could buy it. But if you read a book like that, you can figure out how to train a dog to do almost anything, including be a weapon. I wouldn't do that, but I know that the police do, and they do it on a regular basis. And that's, as I said, disgusting.
And there, according to an article I've read, just about every city has a canine
weaponized
team.
Dog program.
Weaponized dogs. Yep. We'll be right back after top of the hour news and commercial announcements. Guineith Isaacs is with us. You can find her at usaprepares.com, page number 1, and on the instructors tab. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked, hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Class, I just want to give you a heads up. On Friday, hour number 1, Dr. Joel Wallach. Hour number 2 on Friday, I'll be doing part 3 with Marty Barrett. And we're going to be talking about, in part 3, extreme tax deductions. Now, you heard on the news that Google was fined a massive amount for manipulating their search results. I did what I thought was a pretty interesting broadcast, in my own opinion. I like the topic of tax avoidance. I like it because, to me, it's a game in which the government, allegedly, is trying to take what they can from you. And in this game, it's up to you to try to keep whatever you can from them taking it. So I read the rules, and I've been playing this game for decades with them. And I've been successful. I don't let them take any more than I absolutely have to. I hold them at bay using their rules. And I play above board. I don't cheat. I don't evade taxes. That's illegal. But tax avoidance is perfectly legal. So I did 2 broadcasts, and I thought, we can probably do this in 1 broadcast. Nope, couldn't do it in 2. May be able to do it in 3. So this Friday, hour number 2, is the 3rd in the series. And so in the line of, search engine dynamics, I find that if you type YouTube, USA prepares, extreme tax deductions, you will find a result that has 7 views. 7.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think so either. Well, what happened, we had a lot more than that. And that result was, the original post was by Ron Gibson. I asked him if he could separate the 2-hour broadcast into 2 one-hour pieces, one with the extreme tax deductions separate. And he did a great job. Put a title on it, and it really made it interesting and eye-catching. Well, that has been, if you do a search, you don't find that one. The first one you find is this other guy, whoever he is, who had 1 view. Actually had no views until I said, wow, no, impossible. Absolutely impossible that no one looked at this. So I looked at it, and it got 1 view, and that was from me. Well, I don't believe...
No way.
No way.
YouTube absolutely manipulates the view counts all the time. And I have caught them doing it in the past on my channel on YouTube, Guineith Isaacs. And the one that I caught them out on was, Victoria police officer ignores the Attorney General.
Yep.
Where you can go to, and actually, something, I did not know that I was going to get pulled over, but coincidentally, on my, cell phone, as a podcast that I had uploaded previously to my cell phone, I had USA Prepares running.
Yep.
In the first part of that particular dashcam video, and you can hear Vincent, and then I hear this, the police car comes up behind me. He was, a plainclothes type police car, and he did the flashies and all that, and I just said, or something like that, and just turn the broadcast off. But they actually accused me of stealing my own ute. How's that? Wow. On that day? And something, that is, they knew it was my ute, and they nevertheless accused me of stealing my own ute, and then went and did an unwarranted search of my ute. How's that? On the basis that they were accusing me with absolutely zero evidence. There's no way they could have had any evidence because it was my ute. And they knew it was my ute. And I'm sure, incidentally, on that day, that they were tracking my cell phone signal, which they do, okay, because they have not liked me for quite some time. But anyway, that was one video that they absolutely manipulated the YouTube views on, and I had a different number of views showing on my channel as a producer of content than what was on the public area of YouTube. And I would, log out and then view it from the outside, and it would have one number of views, and then I would log into my account and it would have a different, higher number of views. So they absolutely do that. But you know something? Getting back to the dogs, they... How this pack dynamic thing works, okay? They operate any bureaucracy that you see, whether it's the police, whether it's, your municipality or whoever it is, they operate as a unit. And what we need to do as preppers and survivalists, we need to learn to operate on a similar basis, putting our own households first, okay? And that means we have loyalty to our spouses, to our parents, to our family members, to our children, to our animals, to our livestock, to our cats and dogs, so that the cats, the dogs, the horses, the sheep, the cattle, the children, everybody feels like that they are a part of something here. That is what pack mentality is, okay? And it actually, it's hard to do it once your children are older. It's very easy to do it when they are little, okay? Because what you do is you look at how dogs behave in a natural way, and you will see a model for how humans should behave in a natural way. Because natural human behavior and natural dog behavior is very, very similar. And that is why, personally, I think that dogs and humans have always gotten on so well. And if you look at how a wolf pack operates, they look after the pups, but they discipline them, and they have a set of rules, and the pups grow up knowing that certain things are allowed and certain things are not allowed. Okay? Like, for instance, the pup that I have here came up to me. She's all of maybe eight weeks old. She came up to me. She'd just woken up. She came up to me and sort of went, "Arr, arr, arr, arr." And I said, "Okay, you want to be let out to go and do your business outside." I let her out. She went and did her business, and then she came back up to the door, went, "Arr, arr, arr, arr," and went back in. She's all of maybe 8 weeks old, and she's figured out that really you've got to go outside to do pee-pee. It's not really acceptable to do it in the house, okay? Because that's what we do. She wakes up, we put her out, because I know that just after dogs wake up, they want to go and do something. Everybody does. That's just nature. But that's the pack dynamic. And if we build that in with our dogs, with our children, to say, listen, we love you, but there's a set mode of what we do around here, okay? You will find that you have a loyal, devoted, loving, stable household. And if you want to know what happens if you don't do that with your own dogs and with your own children, there's a couple of documentary series that you need to go and watch, and one of them is 25 Dumb and Living with Mum, Okay, I think that's probably it. I think it's been on the Discovery Channel. You'll probably find it if you search for it on the internet. And the other one is Cesar Millan's very excellent TV series that he runs. Watch the people who do not have control of their dogs on Cesar Millan's show, and you will find that they are weak people. They are social justice warrior type, lefty type people who are overly soft in their own life. Okay? And I watched a great number of his episodes. I love him. I think he's great. But you see, these people are frightened of their dogs, and their dog might be a Pomeranian or a Jack Russell or a Chihuahua, and they are frightened of the dog. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't, but I'm going to do a search on it right now. I want to tell you what I do with our dogs, all of them, when we come back. Guineith Isaacs is with us. Guineith, I did a search for the series that you were telling me about, or telling all of us about, Young, Dumb, and Living Off Mum. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's something like Young, Dumb, and Living Off Mum, or 25 Dumb and Living Off Mum, or something like that.
Okay, what I found was there's a BBC, it says BBC 3.
Yeah, that's the one.
And it's called, okay, Young, a class, if you want to do a search, I'll post this on the website, USA Prepares. But if you want to do a search, Young, Dumb, and Living Off Mum, M-U-M. And so I'm going to see if I can send this over to our television screen and watch this. Maybe this evening I'll be able to watch this with Mrs. Finelli. But it looks interesting.
Your head with the dumbness of these kids. Just
can you share
their parents have never provided them with any leadership.
So they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I've been in the auto store many times in the last, many times in the last 12 years. And I'm just talking about in Missouri. And I very rarely see young people in there lately that are looking to change the oil in their vehicles, or looking to change the air cleaner, or looking to do anything that involves maintaining their vehicles. Now, it can't be that young people don't have vehicles. Obviously, they operate vehicles, but either they don't know what to do, and that's why they're not buying the standard maintenance items that you need, like air filters and oil filters and oil and other maintenance items, or they're having them done because at the dealership because they're leasing the vehicles. I can't think of any other reason. Either they don't know how, and that's why they're not doing it, or the dealership is doing it, and they don't know how. But the bottom line is, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Yeah, our son, one of our sons, used to be a guy who, if someone had a problem, he would pull over and help that person. Like if he were in a parking lot of a store, and there was someone there scratching their head and trying to get their vehicle operating, he would say, well, do you need any help? I've got some jumper cables, or let me help you with that, or I think it's the carburetor, or I think it's, the ignition system, and he would help them diagnose and get their vehicle running to where they could get home, or something like that. Lately, he hasn't been doing that so much. And he tells me stories of, hey, Dad, I was over there, and, we'll be driving someplace. He'd say, I was right over here, and there was a vehicle over there, and there were a couple young people in it, and they were just sitting in their vehicle. It looked like they were kind of stranded, but they didn't have the hood up. They weren't looking. They're just sitting in the vehicle like zombies, just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And, not being proactive. And his feeling was, if they're not being proactive, why should he be involved in trying to help them?
Yeah.
That's his attitude. Now, I didn't teach him that. I didn't say, hey, if you ever see a situation, don't go help him. I didn't do that. He's determined that on his own. He's 25 years old, and he's determined when he will be successful in trying to help someone and when he won't be. He was telling me another story about how this guy had a dead battery. Dead enough so that it would not turn over the vehicle, and he couldn't get it started. So our son went over to help him, and he says, okay, do you know how, and it was a stick shift, do you know how to get this thing rolling and then pop the clutch, with the ignition on, and use the forward momentum of the vehicle rolling, pop the clutch to turn over the engine so it will start. Do you know how to do that? And the guy said, oh yeah, go ahead, yeah. So our son hooks him up to a tow rope, which a nylon rope with hooks on the end that we use here at the farm.
Yep.
Hooked it up to his truck and got him moving. And the guy didn't know what to do. First thing the guy does is turn the radio on, turns the fan on, drains whatever.
He knows how to play the radio.
Drains the battery, a little bit more.
Even more.
While well, and this is what makes my son nuts.
And the aircon.
He can't stand it. Can't stand it. Class, I'm getting a chuckle. I posted the link to Young, Dumb, and Living Off Mum, MUM, on the website, usaprepares.com during the commercial break. And I'm reading about this, and it says that this is a series in which motley coddled 17 to 25-year-olds with no life skills are fast-tracked into fully functioning independent adults using real-life challenges.
It usually doesn't work like that. If you watch the series, you'll spend the whole time laughing at it, but it's high on the cringe factor. And the fact is that these kids are not actors. Mm-hmm. This is how they really are. Mm-hmm. And I remember the name of Cesar Millan's show. It's on the National Geographic Channel. From memory, he has a YouTube channel as well, which is Cesar Millan on YouTube. That's CESAR space MILAN. And he's called the Dog Whisperer. Okay? And you know something? He's really, really good. He has a pack of between 20 and 40 dogs, including Rottweilers, Pit Bulls, German Shepherds, Greyhounds, every possible dog breed that you could possibly imagine, Ridgebacks and crosses of Mastiffs and all of the above and crosses, and they all live happily together on his property, which is a former automotive workshop with 6-foot-high fences all the way around, in Los Angeles. And the people that come to him for psychological consultations with their dogs is absolutely amazing. It's, if you think of what Los Angeles typical people are, these people have no clue, and some of them, they have the tiniest little dogs, and the dogs run the show, and some of them buy enormous dogs, and guess what? Those dogs run the show too. It's amazing to see, okay?
We have an enormous
how
dog.
people don't have any idea of how to get on in this life. They have no idea of pack mentality. And Cesar Millan says, you are the human. You have to be the alpha, okay? And that does not mean being an absolutely horrible person. It just means being in charge. And letting your dog know, I'm in charge, okay? You're not the leader of the pack around here. I'm the leader of the pack. You have to do what I say. And if I say don't jump on the sofa, I mean it. And
Absolutely.
you might get another household like our one, the dogs are allowed on the sofas, but they still know that they're not the alphas. And if they get off the if I need to sit on the sofa, they have to get off the sofa, and that's just how it is, you know. But you know, the thing is, if you don't have any idea of authority structures, you will never, ever, ever be able to succeed in the preparedness lifestyle. And it's not about bossing everybody around. It's about you're the one in charge. You're the one who has to organise everything as the leader of the household. And that's whether you're a man or a woman. And if you're a woman who's a single mother, you've got teenage sons, welcome to the club. I'm a woman, I'm a single mother, I have teenage sons, but those teenage sons, they do not run the show. They might test the boundaries. They might want to think sometimes that they run the show, but ultimately they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And there's too many places out there, households, where the kids run the show and the parents sit around chewing their fingernails. And that's the reason why no one has a clue what to do. And if any situation develops, there's no leadership because the kids haven't lived long enough to see what to do. And the parents don't feel strong enough to stand up when their kids are as big as they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I have had many discussions with our family, and what I try to do is involve the family in decisions. And that, you know, if we're going to do something, let's say we're going to put in a solar system, and we are, okay? We're expanding our off-grid system. So I involve the entire family in the discussion. We will sit around the kitchen table, we'll talk about the battery bank, we'll talk about the wiring, and then when I go to do it, it's a family project. For example, my son and I designed it, and then I showed my son the designs, and I said, okay, can you make this better? How can we make this better? And then we improve on the design, and then we improve on it again. Now, he and I own that design. If anything goes wrong, it's our fault. It's not my fault. Okay? And then when we go to buy the welder, when we go to buy the welder,
the money to buy it comes out of your account, probably.
The way our family works is if it's family money, okay? So one person doesn't waste family money because all of us have worked really hard to get to that point. But so when we go to buy the welder, it's not just Dad's going to buy this welder, or our son is going to buy this welder, or Mrs. Finelli is going to buy it. It's a decision. Everyone knows that there is this possibility. Anyone object? Okay. So, you know, obviously Mrs. Finelli trusts that I'm not going to go do something stupid with family money. She knows I'm going to make very, very good use of it as best as I can. But I involve the entire family, and I usually bring one of the boys with me to pick it up, and if they see something that doesn't look right in the purchase, it doesn't happen. And then, and I want to share this with you. So, but they do know that Dad is the head of the household. They're absolutely, they know that. Okay, so, but I'm not a dictator. I'm a manager.
That's what I was saying. It's not about being a dictator. You listen to the opinions of the people in the family. But they have to be well-reasoned opinions. They can't just object just for the sake of objecting, because that's not going to fly. But if they have a well-reasoned, why there's a problem, then certainly that's considered, you know. And if you say, well, actually, that you've picked up on something there, we're going to change the way that we do things because of what you've picked out. And I'm really glad that you picked it out. I didn't see that. But it might go that they say, well, there's this problem, Mum. And then they say their view of the problem. And then you say, but you haven't considered this. Like, for instance, the pup that we decided to keep. My son said, but Mum, she's probably going to have the standing ears. We're trying to get back to breeding from a regular Jack Russell with a Parsons type body back to an old school Parsons Jack Russell, which had a particular colouring. Okay, so we crossed it with a Jack Russell cross that was crossed with an Australian Kelpie that had the black and tan colouring that we were after, okay? That's what we were doing. That's the project. We came up with one pup that had that particular colouring, and it's a black and tan head and a spotted body. It's a very particular colouring that Jack Russells used to have, but they're very rare now, okay? And my son said, yes, but she's got her mother's Kelpie type body. She hasn't got the Jack Russell type body. And I said, yes, but she has the Parsons type colouring. And I explained to him that when you're breeding a particular kind of dog, you get one factor right and then you work on the next factor, okay, that you want to be expressed. When you've got that factor that you want expressing consistently generation after generation. And because I had come from a family of dog breeders, I knew that, but he didn't, okay? That's what I mean. And I say, yes, well, and we had a discussion about it, and, and we could have gone the other way. We could have gone with the full black and tan pup that had the Jack Russell type body. I said, yes, but that's not the colour that I want. But, it's a thing of you have a discussion, and sometimes I say, well, yes, son, you're absolutely right. Let's do it your way. So it's not a dictatorship. We still have a discussion. Mm-hmm. But, like I say, it's about having a pack dynamic where there is ultimately somebody who makes the decision, okay? Mm-hmm. Instead of just having everybody going their own way, doing their own thing, not working together, and ultimately behaving in quite a selfish way.
And destroying the family resources.
Yeah, that's right. And then what happens when you have that latter type of family is the kids behave foolishly. The parents don't even try to put a brake on their foolish behaviour, and then the kids ultimately end up doing quite self-destructive things.
Let's talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Let's talk about management. Yeah. Management. That's what we are talking about. Management. And when I went to school, one of the things I learned was the principles of management. And the definition of management is getting people to do things. Well, there's a better definition of management, and that is getting people to do what you want them to do. An even better definition is getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. My definition, here's my definition. Getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it, because they
can see the benefit of it.
Because they think it's their idea. Yeah. So you and I are in agreement. Let's talk a little bit more about this when we come back. Guineith, I was chatting with our engineer Nathan during the commercial break, and I really like working with Nathan. And I mentioned to him that his smile, his positive attitude, his cheerfulness goes a long way in making the broadcast even more pleasant. It's kind of like, and the way I said it was, it's kind of like if you had a gloomy waiter or waitress without a big smile on the, what do you want? That would ruin the meal. And I know a gal who used to work at McDonald's back in the 70s, and every once in a while she would get a grumpy person coming to the counter at McDonald's. She was a young part-time employee working after school hours, and when she got a grumpy employee, I'd say, "Give me a hamburger, fries, and soda," and she'd say, "First you have to smile." First you have to smile. She would tell them, the customer, and who would dare do that? as a minimum wage employee. And she did, and it would change that frown into a smile. Guineith, I wanted to share with you something that I do with all of our dogs. And I try to do this every day. So if I'm in the garage and they come running in for their hugs, and they all come for their hugs, they really do. And I use the word, okay, who wants a hug? And they sit down and they get their hugs. I will say to them in English, thank you so much for adopting us as your family. We really appreciate you living here. And we know that you can leave at any time. If you want to leave, you just do it. But we're so glad that you don't. We're so glad that you've adopted us. We love you, and we're glad that you love us. And thank you for protecting us and watching over the farm. And we think it's a really important job, and we're so glad you're here to do that. And we love you. And I give them big hugs. And I tell them all. And I tell them all that. And I try to do it every day. And I really mean it, because our dogs are not on chains. They can take off at any time they want, but they don't. They, if I go out on the veranda, they race over and they sit down next to me and they want their hugs. They're not asking for biscuits. I give them hugs and I give them lots of love. And sometimes, most days, I will get down on the kitchen floor. We have a rug there, and an area rug, and I'll get down on the floor. And my Mastiff, he's a big boy. I believe he's over 200, just over 200 pounds now. He will come over and he will put both paws on top of me to hug me. He used to climb on me, and then he figured out that he didn't have to do that to hug me. He can just put his paws on me. And if I lie down on the floor, he will lie down behind me, and he'll put one of his arms over me to hug me. I'll say, "Where's my hug?" And he'll do that. Yeah. And it's a wonderful thing. Sometimes I get behind him, and I hug him the same way. So he's figured out that that's what he can do, and he does. And he really, if I'm sitting in a chair, he'll come over, and if I don't hug him, he will put his paw on me, and he'll say, "Where's my hug? Where's my hug?
Yep.
Can I have a hug?"
That's right. Yep. If you can hear the dog barking in the background, it's barking at kangaroos which are jumping through the forest. So it's protecting our property from the kangaroos. I just thought I would mention that. Mm-hmm. They come through most evenings. We actually have kangaroos, wallabies. We live in a eucalyptus forest with cockatoos flying around and all that sort of thing, and echidnas. It's the middle of the night here, and they have to be on chains in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Would they chase the kangaroos?
Well, if they're off the chains, they will. Mm-hmm. And that's why if I'm not around to supervise them in the middle of the day, also they have to be chained. So you have to be responsible about your dog ownership. But you know something? They also know that I love them. Mm-hmm. And that's the most important thing.
Guineith,
really is.
Thank you so much for being with us today. In class, if you'd like to contact Guineith, just go to usaprepares.com and go to page number 1. There's a link right there. And if you'd like, you can click on the Instructors tab as well, and there's a link there to Guineith Isaacs. Guineith, I'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks so much for being with us. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.